Oh, check this out. TCU and Kansas State. What an absolute barn burner of a game. We needed overtime this weekend, and we got overtime. And championship weekend has delivered in the way that we hoped it would deliver. Welcome to the College Football Show. I'm Skubie Mageza, filling in for Jason Fitz, and that is AJ McCarron, three-time national champion for the Alabama Crimson Tide. And another weekend, AJ, of absolute madness. We had USC go down last night. We have TCU go down. And now we got two more games left. We got Georgia playing right now. They're kind of whooping LSU.
Beating them.
And then we got the Spoilermakers taking on Michigan. What's been your thoughts so far on the madness and the chaos that has ensued?
Well, I mean, it's been that chaos. From an Alabama guy, you got the two things that you absolutely needed to even be in the conversation again, right? You needed TCU to lose today versus Kansas State.
Yeah.
And you needed USC to lose versus Utah last night. And both of those things happened. USC absolutely gets embarrassed and really wasn't even a close game at all in the second half. I mean, Utah absolutely wore them down and put it on them. And then today, really Kansas State had an opportunity to absolutely walk away with it. I mean, it was 21-10, first coming out into the second half. Kansas State scores. They were up 14-10 at half, and then come out and score and go up 21-10, and then have a muff punt that gave the ball to TCU and gave it to them in great field position. So it made it a closer game. Really could have walked away with it, and then we'd be talking about, hey, does TCU deserve, or are they automatically knocked out because they got beat?
Talk about.
Yeah, because they got beat so bad. It's definitely been an interesting past 2 days.
I love this game of college football, and what a weekend it was. So speaking of USC, why don't we check out that highlight and see what went down the Pac-12 championship. Caleb Williams and fourth-ranked USC in the first quarter. Williams feeling the rush, and he's adding to that Heisman resume. 59-yard run. I do my Heisman pose. I'm feeling good in this game. Just a great run by Williams here. Shout out to Fitz, because he would say, swiggity swooty, he's going for the booty. There's the Heisman edit. Way to go by our production team. Later in the drive, Williams once again on the run like DMC, and he finds Jalen Dixon for the game time TD. And then third quarter, same score. Rising. Said he's hungry, finds Money Parks, makes reservations for 6. 10 minutes to go in the fourth. USC down 3. Come on, y'all. Y'all got to learn how to tackle. Thomas Yasmin runs through the DBs like paper. Gets a 60-yard touchdown there.
Defense.
USC ball later in the fourth. Williams trying to mount a comeback, and the only thing he wants back later. Oh, this right here is a rising throw to Yasmin. Yeah, Yasmin here. Gets a 60-yard touchdown to the tight end. Now we got Williams. He wants this throw back. Intercepted by Hubert. Williams' fourth interception of the season. Ensuing Utah drive. Jackson puts the nail in the coffin. 53-yard touchdown. Utah goes on to win 47-24, completing the largest comeback in Pac-12 championship history. 47-24. 47 points scored by USC, and this was a 14-point comeback by Utah. There was a point in this game when they were down 14-3. USC had a chance to score. Instead of scoring and making it 21-3, they made it 17-3, and then the comeback began. What sparked that comeback for you, AJ?
Yeah, I think it was Utah finally putting some pressure in getting to Caleb Williams, right? Like the biggest thing is early in the game, and yes, he was healthy. Towards the end of the first half, Caleb hurt his hamstring, and he really wasn't the same when he was strictly made to be a pocket passer. And he's still one of the most talented, passers in the country by far. But he wasn't the same when he was earlier in the first half, able to get away, make guys miss, use his legs, take off running down the sidelines, as we saw in one of the highlights for a big run right there. So he had to really rely on staying in the pocket, hitting his hots, communication with the receivers, getting the ball out quick when protection broke down. And that's something that didn't happen for USC in the second half especially. And Utah took advantage of it and made the most of it. And that's what made Utah such a special team. That, they beat them earlier in the year by 1 point and then put a whooping on them this game. But Cam Rising played unbelievable. I mean, he had battled. He's a competitor. You can see it when
Rising
you watch
played
him.
well.
And he just battled his tail off along with the rest of that Utah team. And listen, they left no question out there that they were the better team.
Second quarter is when this game really started to change. Late in the second, that Utah defense flipped a switch.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. We had multiple huge third down stops by both teams, but Utah flipped a switch, and it seemed to be the game changer for me. And then to see Caleb Williams really rely on his arm, we saw his arm talent showcased on that stage. But Cameron Rising stepped up. He called themselves the Trojan Killers because this is the second time this season that they have beat USC. The first time was on a game-winning touchdown and then a 2-point conversion that ended up helping them beat it. So what success do they find against the Trojans that nobody can't seem to quantify this year?
Well, I think it's the fact that they play tough with them. Listen, Utah's always been known as a tough team. I mean, they'll line up and just hit you in the mouth and keep going and keep going. And that's always been USC's knock, especially this year was, hey, can they handle somebody that just punches them in the mouth and keeps coming back play after play and doesn't worry about what the scoreboard is and get caught up in that and get down on themselves and start blaming each other. They were down by 14. They just said, listen, we're just going to line up and play the next play.
Yeah.
And they kept doing it, and then it ended up breaking open for them. So, and I think another thing that, Caleb's still young. And I think he takes this as a learning point for his career, especially going into next year, is the whole F Utah on the nails.
On the nails, what are we doing?
I don't understand it. So why bring? Listen, you've brought a bunch of positive spotlight to your team, and why come out before the Pac-12 championship, put that on your nails when you haven't done that all year? And really bring a bad spotlight and really bring a lot more pressure to your team, because now that you lost, everybody just wants to talk about that, talk about your nails, talk about what you had. I mean, they interviewed Cam Rising and some other players after the game, and that was some of the first things they asked them, talking about Caleb Williams' nails. So why bring that spotlight and that bad energy on your team? Just focus on playing the game and winning the game first, and then go from there. But I think it's going to be a lesson for him in the future.
Focusing on your opponent that's in front of you is important, and Utah's head coach said it before the game. He's like, oh, they're already writing us off. They're saying they're in the playoffs. They're saying he's won the Heisman. We love that position. We feel real comfortable where we are, and they certainly showed it by getting that upset. So we saw what the fourth team in the country did. Now let's look at what the third team in the country did, as huge ramifications for the playoffs was here, as Kansas State took on TCU for the Big 12 championship, and we had Jason Fitz at the halftime show. Dr. Pepper tuition toss representing. I see you, Fitz. All right, third quarter, Kansas State leads by 11. TCU punting on 4th and 16, and special teams can be costly. All three phases. Stay focused. Phillip Brooks drops the ball. Horned Frogs recover. They needed that. Ensuing red zone possession. Give it to your star running back, Kendre Miller. Over 1,200 yards this season. Of course, he's going to get you 6. We now have a 4-point game early in the fourth. Let's not forget about the running back K-State has. Deuce.
So good.
Oh, my Lord. Deuce Vaughn. 44-yard touchdown. He had over 150 scrimmage yards in this game. But Max Duggan says, time to put the team on my back, like the name of my jersey. 40-yard run by the former track star. And he was exhausted on this drive, but kept battling. Runs it in from 8 yards to make it a 3-point game. So, of course, TCU goes for 2. We're in the fourth quarter. He can barely stand up. steal gas from running, so use his arm. Bang!
Put it in his hands.
Finds his tight end, and we're tied at 28. But here we are, overtime, 4th and goal. You give it to Kendre Miller on 3rd and 4th down. He gets stopped. Now Kansas State just needs a field goal. 31-yarder. Sheesh.
Straight down the middle.
There it is. Kansas State knocks off undefeated TCU and our Big 12 champions. Final score 31-28. Deuce Vaughn, as I mentioned, over 150 scrimmage yards. Max Duggan, over 350 scrimmage yards. Just did everything that he possibly could do for this team.
Yeah.
But they end up losing, and when you look back at this game, it was really confusing to see the decision on 3rd and 1 and on 4th and 1 for Sonny Dykes to not put the ball in Max Duggan's hands. I understand Kendre Miller, over 1,200 yards, plenty of touchdowns this season, double digits, but your quarterback has over 100 yards. He led you throughout this whole game. He was the hot hand. Why don't we put the ball in his hands instead of 2 predictable plays to end the game?
Yeah, listen, I think Garrett Riley is going to go back and really question himself on those 2 calls, because leading up to the end of the 4th quarter, on that last drive, you left the ball in Max Duggan's hands the entire time.
Yep.
He had multiple runs. I think he had runs of like 13, 16, 15.
95 yards rushing on their game time drive, the most rushing yards by a QB on any drive this season.
Exactly. So and then he made some big time throws too. So and then he's dead tired. He's on his hands and his knees after he runs it in from 8 yards out, and they're down by 2, and he can barely call the play when they were signaling it the next play in, and when they were going for 2 to tie the game, and you put it in his hands again, which you're supposed to do.
What happens?
It was good. Yes, and they get the conversion. They tie the game up, 28-all, and then when it comes down to the 3rd down call in overtime, you're at 3rd and 1 on the goal line, and you hand it off. You try to run. You get in the I formation, and you run an inside zone to the right side. That doesn't work. You get stopped. So now it's 4th and 1, and you run a zone concept with a zone and pull wraparound concept where they pulled the right side guard to kick out to the left side, which I don't understand why, with that big offensive line, let them line up and just drive somebody back. If anything, just do a quarterback sneak put the ball in Max Duggan's hands. Mm-hmm. He's brought you this far all year long. I don't understand why you take that out of his hand and give it to Kendre Miller, who is an excellent player. But in those times, you give the ball to your absolute best player, and that's Max Duggan. And I think Garrett Riley is going to be kicking himself in the ass for not giving him that.
But we always talk about this because we're big on creativity in the red zone, because that's where offensive coordinators are going to make their money. And I don't know if you could say there was much creativity on those 2 running plays, but looking at Max Duggan's performance, he's been a Heisman candidate player all year. Had he won this, I think he would have shot up right to the top of the list. But was this still a Heisman-worthy performance for him?
I don't listen. It was leading up to the last 2 plays, because I mean he brought the team back, and they were down again by double digits. So, but he didn't win the game, and so I don't know if he had enough of that Heisman moment to give him the Heisman when they head up to New York.
All right. Well, let's take a look at what the rankings are right now, because there's been a lot that has happened. These are the top 10 teams. We see where we are with TCU and USC, and we see that number 5 and 6 team over there, right? Alabama, they want to get in there. How do you feel about their chances? And not only that, does TCU themselves still have a chance to be in the college football playoff?
Do we have some time? Listen, yes. So, you know, I watched College Game Day this morning and listened to Herbie and Pollock and some of the other guys like talk about that Alabama's they think's for sure out. I don't see how, because Bama has 2 losses, both on the road, both night games versus top 10 teams at the time. One in Neyland Stadium at night, 106,000 people. Tennessee hasn't been good in a long time, and that place was absolutely rocking. It's a very tough place to play. And then you go down to probably the toughest place to play in the country by far in Death Valley versus LSU, where Jaden Daniels and LSU play the game of their life.
He hasn't played better all season in that game.
And you lose in overtime by 1. LSU decides to go for 2. They convert, and they win the game by 1 point. So you have 2 losses by a combined total of 4 points. Versus, I think you can make a case for Bama versus TCU and Ohio State. So I think if you're making a case for the number 6 team right now, and you're saying the number 6 team, if they lined up versus the number 3 and the new number 4 team in Ohio State, who everybody thinks is going to be the number 4 team, like, I think if you're already questioning it, that gives you enough of a case right off the bat, because Ohio State got absolutely embarrassed by, the number 3 team in the country in Michigan at the time.
You have a point there, yeah.
But Michigan was missing their top player in Blake Corum, their best running back by far, their Heisman candidate. He wasn't even playing. He had 2 carries, and it was the first possession of the game, and he didn't play anymore. So, and you got absolutely embarrassed at home. You lost by 22 points at home. That's different, losing by 22 points at home compared to losing 2 games on the road, night games, by a combined total of 4 points. So
this is why I wanted all this chaos, because having these teams lose just presents so many different scenarios. So let's take a look at what you have for the college football playoff right now, because of course my boy has Alabama getting in there and Ohio State looking from the outside. I love this madness here, but AJ, I will go ahead and say somebody else will come here and say that Ohio State has a better record. They beat Notre Dame, they beat Penn State, and they only lost to the 2nd team in the country. So why shouldn't they get that final spot? Even though, granted, I would enjoy to see Alabama in there. And matter of fact, I would like to see a Michigan and Ohio State rematch now that I think about it. But that's the argument that you're going to hear when people try and make a case for Alabama.
Oh, 100%. And listen, what I would say for Alabama is they lose to LSU after Bryce had been out with a big-time shoulder injury. All right, he didn't play. Everybody talks about, they barely beat Texas A&M. Okay, well, they played A&M.
Without Bryce.
Yeah, without Bryce, with their backup, who A&M turned around and beat the number 5 team in the country in LSU, who beat Alabama by 1. So I almost washed that loss out completely, because LSU also played the game of their life. I think you can make a case for, swapping Ohio State and TCU, because really the tiebreaker was going to be, all right, TCU was a conference champion. Well, the fact that they didn't win their conference, they didn't win the Big 12, so now it goes down to who the committee thinks is the overall better team. It is one of their metrics that they use. So can you for sure say that, hey, if you were to bet on the game and you lined up Alabama versus TCU, that TCU is for sure the better team? I couldn't say that. And that's not me being a homer.
Fitz always like to say, if you were to bet your house
right.
on who would win the game, I would probably go Alabama over TCU, respectfully. I have no problem with that.
And then I would do the same for Ohio State, because Ohio State got absolutely embarrassed by a Michigan team that really, let's be honest, Michigan hasn't been able to throw the ball well all season long.
It's the first game.
And that was the first game. Mm-hmm. And so the fact that you're facing a team that really can't throw it, so you're saying that Alabama, who probably has, definitely for sure a top 3 quarterback in college football, that their passing attack couldn't embarrass you? Like, let's be serious. So I think if you're making a case, or if it's even a question that Bama at 6 right now, and it's a question in people's minds and people on the committee that, hey, Bama's, I think, could be better, well, then they are. Like, at the number 6 spot, if you're already questioning 3 and 4, if Bama at 6 is better than your number 3 and your number 4, well, then Bama, I think, gets the nod.
Here's the thing about Bama, and here's the thing about the committee. If you look at the eye test and you say, do I feel like this team will beat this team? Then you'll be in that situation that we just brought up about I would choose Bama over TCU and so on and so forth. But I don't think anyone would want to see Bama in the playoff just because you give Nick Saban all that time to prep for his next opponent, and Bryce Young has been banged up for a lot of the season.
Yep.
And now he's getting better. He gets a chance to be healthier. It's scary. But do I think that the committee is going to go that way? No, sirree. So let me show you what I think my college football playoff would be based on what I think the committee is going to go with. So I like the idea of Ohio State getting in, and not just getting into the playoff. They're going to get in at number 3. We're going to bump TCU to number 4, and we're going to have an Ohio State-Michigan rematch. And then we're going to get TCU and Georgia in that first game. And quite frankly, that rematch is going to be what we want to see in those ratings. And AJ, it's going to be hard for people to make a great case for Bama the way you are. But do you see this possibly happening with Ohio State at 3 rather than 4?
Well, yeah, I mean, you definitely, can see that because, I mean, that's the safe route, right?
Yeah, safety first.
Now, if the committee wants to really, take a deep dive into it and show people that, hey, we're just not going to be safe and take the easiest selection like we've done all season long, like, I think they move TCU out and you put Bama in at the 4 spot. Because, and they talked about it today, that Coach Sonny Dykes, and this isn't a knock on him, but talking about that he doesn't think them playing in the conference championship should have a knock and knock them out just because they made it there, that they get penalized. Well, guess what? That's how the game of football is. Like, you had an option to either win or you had an option to lose, and you lost the game. So now
and you tried not to.
Yes, and so, but now by not winning the game, you left it up in the air, and it comes down to somebody else's decision. All you had to do was win, and then guess what? It's not in their hands because you're automatically in. So the fact that you didn't win the Big 12 championship. It is a toss-up. And now, yes, I think this is possibly what they will pick, but I wouldn't be happy with it because I think when you line them up, I think Alabama's the better team than Ohio State or TCU.
Yeah, and that goes to the question, are we doing the most deserving? Are we doing the better team? Doing based off strength of record? There's so many different things that we could argue about in this scenario because we had chaos. Now, earlier today, we caught up with Nick Saban, and hearing him is something that ended up making me say, you know what? There is a case for Bama. And you all need to hear this.
The legend of Nick Saban just continues to grow.
I'm not sure there's anyone better than Nick Saban.
One of the best, if not the greatest coach of all time.
Now it's time for us to bring in a special guest. And earlier this week, America, AJ texted me and he said, Scoob, it's the last show. I gotta bring in the big guns. So it is my pleasure to introduce the big guns, head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide, Nick Saban. And coach, thank you for joining the show. You and AJ accomplished so much together, 3 national championships back to back. We'll always look at that as like one of the great QB coach relationships. So just tell us, because we've enjoyed having him all year, what was it like coaching this guy for all those years?
Oh, AJ was a great player. He was a great team guy. He's a very good leader on our team. Even though when he first came here, we had to go through some, learning experiences that he probably doesn't want to talk about, and I won't talk about it. But we had really good players. We had a really good team. We had great team chemistry, and AJ was certainly a big part of that. Obviously, the quarterback means a lot to any team, and he certainly meant a lot to our team.
Well, Coach, on the contrary, because AJ, we asked him to tell us a story that he remembers from his time with you, and he brought one specific up back in his freshman year, and we're going to ask you after what was your side of it and the method behind the madness, but he does have a freshman year story that is hilarious, and let's see if you can remember this.
Yeah, so, Coach, I told him about coming in to 7-on-7 workouts during that summer, and I felt like I was playing well, throwing the ball well, and so we get around to springtime, and I'm thinking I'm going to be rotating in with the twos again during this first scrimmage, and all of a sudden the twos go out there and I don't get called, and then the threes go out there and I'm not in there either, and all of a sudden it was the fours. I'm like, I didn't even know we had fours. We had some walk-on guys, and I'm looking across the defense, and we got Dante Hightower, Terrence Cody, Rolando McClain, Javier Arenas, and I'm like, what are we supposed to do? So as soon as I'd get the ball in the snap, I'd either get touched or, we couldn't do anything on offense. I was pissed off to no end. So we get on the bus, we go back to the facility, and I go straight up, and because me and Coach had a really close relationship, and I said, listen, Coach, I understand, you want me to show you what I can do and how I can play and help us win. I can't do anything when you got me out there with that group. And then he let me rant and go on. He said, you done? And I said, yeah, I'm done. He said, well, today we were testing your leadership skills, and you failed miserably. And so I said, oh, I got you. And I walked out.
That was
Coach,
correct.
you remember that story? What was the method behind it?
That's exactly what happened. He's telling it as well as it could be told. But I thought that was an important thing in his development, to develop leadership skills regardless of what group he was out there with, to be able to impact his teammates, because quarterback's a hard position to play if the people around you don't play well. So learning how to impact and affect the other people around you is a really important part of being a good quarterback, and that's one of the things that we wanted AJ to learn, and I think he learned very well from that experience based on the rest of his career.
That's amazing. Well, Coach, this team this year has had to learn a lot as well. I mean, you've battled through so much adversity, from all the injuries, the close losses, the close wins. Through watching all of this and your team have to battle through this adversity, what stood out to you the most?
Well, I think the way we finished, I think there's some arguments for this team. I think that, during the middle of the season, we started out really strong. Bryce got hurt at Arkansas. So you got to kind of look at how teams are playing at present. We finished 3-0, played some pretty good teams, played Ole Miss on the road when they were number 9 in the country. But Bryce really missed the A&M game. We overcame that, won that game, and came back and couldn't really practice for the next month. Was on a very low pitch count, couldn't throw the ball much in practice. So I think that affected how we sort of developed on offense. So we lost 2 games on the road to one top 5 team, one top 10 team on the last play of the game. But now that he's healthier and he's able to practice, I think we're a different team. And I think you should look at the circumstances around a 2-loss team versus a 1-loss team. And how are they playing at the end of the season? How are they playing at present? And I think our team played well down the stretch, and we're playing well at present. I mean, we're 5th in the nation in offense, scoring offense, 10th in defense, scoring defense. So, we had some vulnerabilities in the middle of the season and a tough part of the year when we had some tough games on the road and got beat on the last play of the game twice, which, hopefully we could do better. We learned from that. But our team showed a lot of resiliency to stick with it, finish the year the right way, continue to improve, and we ended up winning our last 3 games.
I mean, Coach, that's the same thing I've been kind of preaching up here all year is, having the chance to play in both of those stadiums. Neyland Stadium at nighttime, 106, 108,000 people, however many it holds. and they're, pretty good for the first time in a long time. And that's one of the toughest places to play in the country, especially in the SEC. And then you go down to Death Valley at nighttime, which you have a bunch of experience there, and me as well. And there's just no other place like that in the country, especially at night. So to lose 2 games by a combined total of 4 points, it is completely different in my eyes than one loss at home versus a team, that has their Heisman candidate best player out, and you lose by 22-something points or 20-something points. So that's the case I make for your team. But I wanted to ask you, how much has Bryce meant, and what are some things behind the scenes that the average fan doesn't see that he does so well?
Well, he's a very instinctive player. He does a great job of preparing for games. He really has a great understanding of the defense. He has a great understanding of our offense. He's a good leader. He impacts the players around him. Really accurate with the ball and really good decision maker. And he has played very, very well for us. And he's a great competitor. I mean, this guy played at least 5 games this year, missed 1 game, played 5 games where he was not 100%. Couldn't practice the way he wanted to practice, the way we needed him probably to practice to grow and develop as an offensive team. But the guy was just everything that anybody could ever ask a quarterback to be on the team in terms of how he impacted his teammates and how they respect him and how they respond to him.
Wow, thank you, Coach. We really appreciate you being on the show. And just before we get you out of here, this is a Saturday. We're usually talking about you guys actually playing. What does a Saturday like this look like for Nick Saban and the Crimson Tide where you guys aren't having a game?
Well, there's one thing that I would add to this whole playoff mix. 1 loss versus 2 loss. Who gets in, who doesn't get in? I guess I would ask the question is if we played these teams in question, would we be underdogs in the game? Or not? And that should really answer everybody's questions relative to, who the best teams are at present. That's how this should, sort of play out. So it would be interesting. But a day today for me is we're recruiting, obviously interested in what happens in college football. But we need to try to get the best players that we can get, and we always are working on the culture of our program to help our players have a better chance to be more successful in life, whether it's personal development, academic support, trying to help them develop to be the best football players they can be, to see what kind of value they can create for their future. And that's never ending in terms of what we try to do with the relationships on our current team.
Coach, I'm glad you said that because that's something I've been saying all year. And then the fact that Vegas earlier today came out with odds and y'all were favored in every matchup with the 4 teams that they already had in the playoffs if y'all faced them. So that says enough right there. But I can't thank you enough for being on the show, Coach. It means a lot to me. I love you and Miss Terry, and I appreciate it. And tell the family we said hey.
We'll certainly do it. I appreciate you guys having me on. And, God bless you both and best to your family, AJ.
Yes, sir. See you, Coach.
All right, bud.
All right, it's that time of the show where we figure out who has made one exclusive list as we wrap up the regular season, because your voting for the Heisman needs to be submitted ASAP. So, AJ, who you got on AJ's A-list Heisman edition?
At number 5 right now, and listen, it's a toss-up at the number 5 spot. And the reason it's still a toss-up because one of these guys still has a chance to prove something tonight in a big conference championship game. So at 5 for right now, I'm going the young man, Drake May.
The freshman really has been playing well all season. Hasn't had that much blocking, but you got to love what you've been seeing from him. And one more game to prove it.
Yeah, I'm excited. He's got a great chance, great stage tonight for going against Clemson. I'm pumped. At number 4, I'm putting my boy, Bryce.
Go Tide. Of course he's in there.
Listen,
is there a question?
Yeah, he's the reigning Heisman winner. I think he deserves to be there. If you saw when this Alabama team didn't have him in the Texas A&M game, they're a completely different team. He's still the best player on their team and top 4 players in the country by far. And I got him at a top 3 pick coming out in next year's draft.
And let's not forget, he's been banged up for a lot of the season, so Bryce, still a problem. We got a 3.
At 3, I'm going Caleb. And
Caleb to 3.
And listen, I had Caleb probably at a chance to win it the other night, but I know he was banged up in most of the second half, but for USC to lose that game, all you had to do was win out. If they just win, the Heisman's his.
You had it.
And the fact that they couldn't beat Utah this year, lost to them twice, and then just got pounded the other night by him, I can't give him the Heisman.
Yeah, he had Heisman flashes, but not necessarily a Heisman moment when you lose the game.
Right.
Top 2. What are we looking at here?
At 2, and this guy was my number 1 last week, but they lose today to Kansas State.
An L hurts you.
I got to put Dougie there. Listen, Max Duggan was my guy. I've been saying it for a while now. I think he's the best quarterback, or he was playing the best quarterback position in college football
Facts.
For the past couple weeks. But listen, TCU fell short today versus Kansas State in the Big 12 Championship. And with that, he didn't really have that Heisman moment that he had the opportunity with Caleb losing.
I blame Sonny Dykes, the head coach, for not putting the ball in his hands on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1. It's your fault. Number 1, who we got?
Number 1. Go ahead, Scoob. You know.
Stetson, SEC.
Listen,
no surprise.
The mailman, all he does is deliver. All right, he wins the national championship last year. He's the most consistent guy in all of college football. They don't ask him to do everything in the world, but he's playing the most consistent out of everybody. His team's still undefeated. They are beating the snot out of LSU tonight. So Stetson for me is and this
he
is
needs
just,
more respect, honestly.
He does. He
needs
does.
more respect.
He doesn't earn enough respect for whatever reason, but I got Stetson at number 1. He'd get my Heisman vote.
4 touchdowns in the first half. He's only been the quarterback for the number 1 team in the country the entire season. So there's AJ's A-list Heisman edition. And tonight, Purdue is going to need someone to play at a Heisman-type level if they expect to get the 3rd upset of the weekend. And this game is going to be interesting.
They will not catch Donovan Edwards. He will score. Michigan will improve to 12-0 and win the Big Ten East for the 2nd consecutive year.
We have some credibility with what we say because last year we said we'll be back, but it's not our ultimate goal.
Definitely the most talented front 4/front 7 we're faced to date. Really good at rushing the passer. We're able to man you up on the outside. They're able to challenge things on the outside, make you earn everything you get, and they don't give up a lot of big plays.
O'Connell will throw, and it's Coleman Jones. Touchdown, Purdue. What a pass.
Throw the ball extremely well. We know how good their receiver is. We played against them last year. And they're really running the ball more effectively, too, which makes them even more dangerous offensively.
We really don't have any pressure on us. A lot of our players, maybe even some of our coaches, feel like pretty much our whole careers we've been looked over and passed up on, and I think that's where we're comfortable.
We know their nickname. Purdue Boilermakers? No, they are the Spoilermakers. This team has 9 wins over top 2 teams when unranked. Nobody else in college football has more than 4. And their head coach, Jeff Brom, 3-0 over top 5 teams. Their quarterback, Aiden O'Connell, 4-1 versus top 5 teams. So this is everything you want in a pot that you want to serve up as a Spoilermaker dish. So what does this team need to do tonight, AJ, in order to put that on our table?
Well, listen, Aiden O'Connell's got to play well. And that just is the blunt truth. Like, their passing attack has to come out firing on all cylinders, which, you know, we don't need to fail to mention Aiden O'Connell. His brother just recently passed away, and he went home, so he's playing tonight with a heavy heart. So hopefully he just balls out and plays really well in his brother's name. But it's going to be tough. Listen, Michigan's a really good team, but if there's one way to beat Michigan, and I think Ohio State showed it in flashes, is throw the ball. Make their secondary make plays. Which they struggled a little bit against Ohio State, especially the first drive and then later in the game. But, I mean, they got a big test ahead of them tonight.
It's not going to be easy, but by any means possible. But this is going to be a game indoor, which does favor passing teams. So if you want to look at all the little things that can play to advantage, that does help Aiden O'Connell, and he is really one of the most accurate passers in the entire country. But then on Michigan side, they have no Blake Corum. For those that know, he's having season-ending surgery on his knee with that knee injury. And now they're going to have to lean on Donovan Edwards a whole lot more. Donovan Edwards also has an injury, a hand injury, but he can still run. He has breakaway speed. We saw him showcase that against Ohio State. But ball security does come to mind with Donovan Edwards. So how effective will this run game be with him?
Yeah, it's a question, right? Because they really didn't rush the ball that great against Ohio State until the very end. They had two big runs, Edwards did, late in the game. And so it made it seem like they rushed for a lot more, and their rushing attack was, you know, a lot more productive. But J.J. McCarthy's got to have another big game, and they're going to have to throw the ball for the rest of the year to be successful.
There were huge chunk plays that they got.
Yeah.
When you look at that game with them in Ohio State, it really wasn't like they battled for everything and worked for every single play. They had huge chunk plays in the running game and the passing game. So let's see if they can replicate that going forward. However, we still got to make a pick for this game. And AJ, even after all I said about the Spoilermakers and about Donovan Edwards' hand, I'm still taking Michigan in this game. I don't know about you, but who do you have winning it?
Yeah, I think you got to take Michigan. Now, I question it because I've picked the favorite in every conference championship so far, and it hasn't worked out well other than Georgia. But I think Michigan's just got too much firepower, and they pull the win out.
I hope and I think it will be a great game to watch. But there is another game being played tonight in the ACC. No college football playoff ramifications in this one because Clemson ruined it. but they have North Carolina. you love that, don't you? They have North Carolina, Drake May, freshman phenom, absolutely tearing it up. They know what they have at the quarterback position. But Clemson, what do you have at the quarterback position with DJ and K. Klubnik and that entire offense? So my question to you heading into that game is, what changes does Dabo make with this offense in order to get the win?
Give the ball to Will Shipley as much as possible and hope it works out. Because listen, North Carolina hasn't really stopped anybody from scoring all year. They just hope to outscore everybody and make it a shootout. And put the ball in Drake May's hands. But this Clemson offense is rough. I mean, it's tough to watch. Like, they cannot throw the ball very well at all. And then you bring Cade Klubnik in. Like, I don't know if he can really throw.
Yeah, he hasn't done that well when he's given his opportunities.
I mean, the big game of the year was against Syracuse. He came in, he threw 4 passes. He was 2 of 4 for like 19 yards.
Yeah.
So I personally think that North Carolina, should be favored in this game, but I just don't know. So many questions about Clemson's offense. I have so many questions that.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. That North Carolina defense does not play defense. They, just like you said the other week, they don't even show up for the most part when you talk about them. But with DJ all year, it's been up and down. There was at one point this season where they were averaging over 30 points per game. He was looking great. He was the DJ that we expected him to be coming out of high school when he was just supposed to have this arm and these legs, but it just hasn't looked that way at all. So Drake May, however, has looked great, and he has a chance to have a Heisman moment. Can that dude pull off the upset against Clemson?
I think he can. And listen, Drake May, the thing I love about him is he's doing this with a school that's known for basketball. Like, they're playing in the ACC Championship, and we're not talking about basketball. We're talking about football.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
Like, he's putting up these crazy numbers with guys that aren't five-star recruits. Like, North Carolina's not getting a ton of five-star guys.
That's a fact.
They don't have a ton of first-round receivers. Mm-hmm. So for him to be a freshman and put the numbers up that he's putting up is something that's very, very special. It's very rare. And he has a very bright future ahead of him.
Most definitely.
And I think he has a chance to have a Heisman moment tonight. The Heisman's up in the air, it seems like, for everybody right now. You know, it was Caleb Williams. It didn't work out for him. They lose the other night. Then I thought it was going to be Max Duggan for sure. Well, they didn't win today. So it really, like, there's no telling who this Heisman
wants
it. Yeah, going to go to. So if you go out tonight and just absolutely embarrass Clemson and play the game of your life, like, this could be your Heisman moment.
Oh, yeah. Just so young and so good at this. And he's doing it without a good defense. I just said that they don't have a good defense. He's over here having shootouts with people. And in this game, I looked at the line. You said North Carolina should be favored. I think they're about a +8 last time that I checked. So I took the points for North Carolina. But I think in the end, Clemson's running game and DJ will make some passes that'll work out just because this defense is not good. This defense is BAD, capital letters. So I will go with Clemson for my game pick. Who do you got winning?
I got North Carolina. I think North Carolina's going to pull it out. I think Drake May, it comes down to a shootout. And who do I trust more at the quarterback position? Is it DJ, is it Cade Klubnik, or is it Drake May? And for me right now, it's Drake May. He's by far the best quarterback in the ACC, and I think he's proven that all year long. And for me, on the Clemson side of it, is DJ's just been a question mark. What DJ is going to show up and play tonight? Is it going to be the one that's efficient, that takes care of the football, that makes good decisions, puts Clemson in a position to be successful and win at the end of the game? Or is it the DJ that comes out and, you know, his accuracy is all over the place, he's making bad decisions, he's not putting the offense in the right situation to be successful? So it's too many questions for me for this Clemson offense. And I think North Carolina wins the ACC tonight.
I hope it's a shootout.
Yeah.
I hope it's a shootout.
I hope it's entertaining, for sure.
Real. We know one game that hasn't been that entertaining because it's been Bulldogs since the first snap. Right now, they got a 50 burger on there. 50 burger on the scoreboard. Something light. Stetson Bennett having himself a day. I mean, he's basically kicked his feet up ever since halftime. Still 4 touchdowns. He had that in the first half, 23 for 29. Jaden Daniels came into this game with a sore ankle. He was in a walking boot after their game last week against South Carolina. And his first practice was Wednesday this week. They have Nussmeier step in. He's been playing relief.
Let's go, G.
And you see him, 14 for 24, 283, 2 touchdowns and an interception. At least they can look forward to what he'll be able to do for them later on down the line.
Listen, I think, Scoob, not to cut you off, I think Garrett's the best quarterback on LSU's roster. I think they messed up from an overall listen. Jaden Daniels is a great player, but he is a running quarterback. Garrett Nussmeier brings a lot more to this offense from a passing standpoint. attacking people in the air. And I think this is his chance to kind of show, like, hey, I need to have the reins going into next year and let me be the main quarterback of this team.
And let's remember, kid's a freshman, so it's great to get him these reps at this point of the season. Because LSU fans, just look forward to next year. Oh, you know what that sound was. Our boy, Boogie the Cow.
Boogie
is Boogie on down for holy cow, because we saw a number of plays this weekend that made us say, holy cow. A little knee slapper there, make you feel good. How about this play over here? It'll make you feel good. Jackson putting the nail in the coffin. Sir, what did the 5 fingers say to the face? Slap. And I'm going to go ahead and slap a 92 on this one because of the stakes that were at hand. What a play.
I love it.
What a play.
I love it.
All right, AJ, your turn to rank this next one.
All right, let's go.
We got the Lindy Scott Jr. 21-yard touchdown run in this game.
No.
Oh. Falling down?
And he did a little tumble in the end.
Come on. Yo, that's different.
This was a prayer right here, okay? The prayer got answered by his big receiver, and then he does the tumble. I'm feeling generous. 100.
3 digits in here. That's how we feeling?
Right off the bat.
AJ coming out hot. we on the same wavelength, coming in hot. All right, let's go to number 3. What we got? I want to feel a little spicy too. Max Duggan. The deep ball to Quentin Johnson. Dang! 53-yard catch. You know what I like about this play, AJ? He gave the quarterback room to the sideline. He stacked the DB, got right on top of him. As a quarterback and wide receiver, that's what you call fundamentals. I'm going to give you a 90. That's still solid. A- passing grade. We'll roll with that. We'll roll with that real cool.
I'll take that in school any day.
Holy cow. All right, we got AJ back on the mic. What we got here? Oh, same game.
Late.
Oh.
I mean, that's an easy pick.
We just talked about fundamentals for a quarterback and wide receiver.
You can't throw a hitch late to the field. And you threw it inside. What are we doing? That is easy right there. Listen, I know it was a good play by the DB, but he gets a 50. The DB, all he had to do was step in. That's a bad play by the quarterback.
They gave that to you. They gave that to you on a platter.
That was served on a platter. Silver platter.
All right, let's keep on. We got the Holy Cross. QB. Looking like a running back. Whoops. Okay. You know what? This is impressive. Athletic. I know the QB could move like that. He ain't always supposed to move like that, but I ain't gonna give you a 90. That's solid. 83.
Yeah.
That'll do you right.
And he had the bandana hanging out the back of the helmet, too.
When you cut back field, that's impressive. I'll rock with it.
I like it.
All right, AJ, what you got? A 50 was pretty low, though.
Yeah, 50.
Let's see if we can bring that up. LSU, Georgia.
Oh. Fire.
A little hot potato there.
Listen, for Beck not to catch it, then it bounced off his head, the DB to tip it up to his player.
Sheesh.
I mean, I just love the concentration by everybody. I'm going 92.
I like that.
92.
That's solid. We go from AJ went 100 to 50 to 92. I'm not a math major, but I'm guessing that's like around a B or something. You feel me? That's pretty solid right there. Boogie. Appreciate you, Boogie, on down.
Always.
Holy cow. All right, time now for Bruh delivered by Pizza Hut. And there was some things out there that was just a little crazy, AJ, if you know what I'm saying.
Come on, bruh.
Come on, bruh. Run it. Start it up. Starting off in USC, they missed tackles and trophies. Cam Rising hits money parks across the middle. They don't know what they're doing. Bruh, get the dude in the other jersey. What are we doing?
They're too busy tackling themselves.
Oh, my Lord. Come on, USC ends up losing this game. How about TSU's Johnson not protecting the ball enough, holding it like a loaf of bread here? You make a great catch, you make a move, but bruh, you need the ball.
Can't do it, baby. Can't do it. He's a good player, too.
I know, right? Fundamentals, baby. They teach you to tuck high and tight. All right, We got another one. USC's almost disaster kickoff return. Let me go ahead and pitchy woo-woo, but that was a pitchy ooh. Bruh. What are we doing? And then how about Kansas State muff punt over here? Oh, no, this is the LSU blocked kick. Hey, special teams, they have some funny rules.
Cover.
They got some funny rules in special teams. If you don't know them,
yeah,
you'll be in this situation. Bringing back 95 yards because a block kick is a live ball. And here it is, that muff punt. TCU gets a much-needed break. Bruh, special teams, again. What are we doing, AJ?
I mean, that could have cost them the game, too, right there.
It's at Utah on there.
That's cute.
Don't give a It is what it is, you know. You can do whatever you want, put whatever you want on your nails. I'm not going to judge you for whatever you do, but yeah, hope you liked it.
Thank you. Caleb Williams, nice nails there. What does that say? F Utah? Well, Utah said F you too, because
I love that Cam Rising. Tough yo stuff, Cam.
Let him know, bruh. Woo! Gotta love that spiciness.
I love it.
Talk your stuff, Cam. All right, AJ, we're approaching the end of the show. We know what's happening with some of the teams in the top 4. So how about you take us through your predictions all the way until the national champion?
Where we want to start at, 1 and 4?
Let's start at 1 and 4 because we know you got Alabama in. You've already made your case. So Bama's in the playoffs.
Listen,
stop tweeting us.
if there's a team that Georgia struggles with, it's Bama. And it's because Coach Kirby and Sabin come from the same tree.
You're going to do it.
They know how each other play.
He's going to do it.
They know each other's schemes. And I think Georgia doesn't want to see Bama. I'm taking Bama in the upset,
Roll
baby.
Tide. They don't want the smoke. All right.
TCU and Michigan. I'm taking TCU.
So we, in AJ's bracket, we have an Alabama versus TCU national championship. AJ, who wins the Natty this year?
You already know. Roll down Tide, baby. Let's go. Last time they got in at the 4 seed, what'd they do?
Represent.
They won it all. Let's go.
All right, let me show my safer bracket here because I want a Michigan versus Ohio State rematch. Let's go. Run it back. And you know who's going to win that? The Ohio State Buckeyes, because J.J. McCarthy, you're not going to throw the ball the same way again, my guy. You're not going to throw it like that again, my guy. It's just not happening. And then we got 1-4, TCU versus Georgia. Come on, man. Ho, ho. We're going with the Bulldogs. Bulldogs get the dub, and Bulldogs win the Natty back-to-back. Same way Drake said, back-to-back. That's how I'm going with it. Nice and safe. But I'll tell you what. I would love the madness in your bracket. That just sounds fun. That just sounds fun to me, doesn't it? That's the way we gotta go. Well, taking a look at this, you know what? How about we go with the matchup between Michigan and Georgia? Do you think Michigan can take the #1 spot if they win big tonight?
There's no way. I mean, listen, Georgia's been in that spot for most of the year. Georgia just put an absolute whooping on LSU in the SEC Championship. Michigan hasn't shown enough all year. Yes, you beat Ohio State, but you didn't play anybody else for your non-conference and the rest of your schedule. So, no, I think you keep Georgia at the #1 spot, and it's no question.
All right, and we have the Georgia final score, especially with the way that they won today, 50-30 against LSU. Stetson Bennett had himself a day, And so did Grant Nussmeier. Great day for the freshman coming into the game.
Love it, G.
Well, that's all we got here on the College Football Show. We thank y'all for tuning in with us. I'm Skubie and AJ. That's AJ McCarron. Shout out to everybody else behind the scenes that worked so hard to put this show together. Luna, Quentin, Mel, Courtney, all of y'all. Shout out to the people, and thank y'all for watching. Peace.